Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Pigboy25 here, and today I'm bringing you part 5 of my top 100 coaster countdown bonanza. My apologies for not uploading so late, honestly. I mean, I don't usually have Fridays open. Friday I was going up to Milwaukee for a night. Saturday I was very busy. I had to go out to like my somewhere. I forget. I don't know. I'm not trying to give out details. And then Sunday, I went to Great America for majority of the day. It was very rainy, but I got the evidence I needed. I got some research, I got some confirmation, and I'll be presenting that in my next video. I have an idea of what I'll be doing. Then I have something very special up after part 6. It's going to have quite a bit of time to work on it for me. So, yeah, let's get right into part 5. This is another video with a split entry. However, there's only one split entry, so this one should be longer. Anyway, let's move on. Number 70 is Gemini at Cedar Point. Now, a little tidbit of information. I accidentally almost left this in part 4. I made an entire recording and then realized Gemini was there when it's like, no, am I doing 11 coasters? And I realized, oh yeah, I actually am. And I deleted the slide instantly and re-recorded it. It wasn't that much of a burden, but just a little tidbit of knowledge. But anyway, this is a classic aero racing coaster. If I remember correctly, it's like one of Ron Toomer's favorites, if I remember correctly. One of the aero developers said this was one of his favorite things he's ever made. It's been thrilling for all ages since 1978, and this is more of a family coaster. This is good for all ages. It's not too tall, it's not too fast, but it's good for all families, and a somewhat decent ride for coaster enthusiasts. The two tracks are always alongside each other, except when they split off from the final helix, the final upward helix, which I think is like, yeah, I think it's a 360-degree helix. And it's a very tight, compact racing experience. I mean, I love the racing. I remember I raced my brother the last time I went here, and he won because he had more people in his train, therefore having more weight to push him along the track. I had the advantage at the top of the lift hill, but he ended up beating me out in the turns. During my ride, I also took some notes on it. Well, not on the ride, of course. I did notice that there is a bit of clunkiness when it comes to it. Sometimes the transitions from going turn to turn or airtime to airtime hill, like going downhill or over an airtime hill, it might be a tad clunky. It might thrust you a bit uncomfortably. It's not the smoothest transition into the change in elevation or change in direction, but it's still smoothish. It's definitely one of the smoother aeros I've ever ridden. Maybe even my favorite aero I've ever ridden. No, it's not my favorite aero I've ever ridden. Now I thought of one that's better. Yeah, and there's some okay airtime. There's a few airtime hills throughout the ride. It's alright. They're alright airtime. It's not anything to write home about, but it's some okay airtime. But like I said, this is more for the families. I still think this is a good ride if you have like 15 minutes to kill. If it's no longer than 15 minutes, I think this shouldn't be a priority. However, I heard people say that all the way up into like the 90s when Cedar Point started becoming a coaster empire, this thing had hour-long waits. This was the best thing in the park for a while. Which I can believe that's true because this was innovative for the time. There weren't that many racing coasters. Moving on. Numbers 69, 68, and 67 are various Six Flags Pandemonium models. Now, as far as I'm concerned, these are exactly the same. I can't really remember the layouts very well between the two, but knowing Six Flags, I'm willing to bet they're exactly the same. So, yeah. And they share the same page on my source, so I'm assuming they're all clones. It was popularly cloned to 5 different parks between 2005 and 2008. The only two I haven't ridden are the one at Six Flags Over Texas and the one that used to be at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, which is now at Six Flags Mexico. I mean, this thing can either be as rigid as a rock or it can be a wild ride, depending on the weight distribution and how tight the bolts are on the car that day. My Six Flags New England experience was lame, therefore it's the worst Pandemonium I've been on, and it was a bit clunky. The Six Flags St. Louis one had no control on the brake run. The rest of the ride was kind of rigid, but on the brake run, like, we were everywhere. The brake run, I spun like 4 times. So, and then the little climb brakes squeezed me straight a line. And the Six Flags Fiesta Texas one, I remember it spinning a bit more. This one's a bit hazy, because I think it was the last thing I rode at the park, other than a re-ride in Iron Rattler. And I love the background. The backdrop event is good. And that was the first coaster in a while that I took my mom on, and her reaction was priceless. So that's why I have the fondest memory of Pandemonium at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. So it goes Six Flags New England's Fiesta Texas, or Six Flags New England's Pandemonium at 69th, 68th is St. Louis's Pandemonium, and 67th at Fiesta Texas's Pandemonium. Like I said, I still have 2 more of these Six Flags clones to ride. So we'll see how those all stack up. The next one's the Over Texas one is fairly feasible from the area, but the Six Flags Mexico one might not happen for a while. Alright, so I think I've spoken enough about this one. Let's move on to number 66, Wild One at Six Flags America. This starts a very long chain of wooden coasters for this countdown. There's going to be like 5 other wooden coasters all in a row. This is what I consider like the C-tier wooden coasters. These are the ones that are okay. They have some strong points, but they aren't exactly the best rides. So I consider them C-tier, mid-tier wood coasters. The lowest tier is like Mean Streak, Boss, and then right above it could be like Thunderbolt and stuff. This is like C-tier. This rounds out the middle of wooden coasters. And you're going to see a couple surprises in this. And speaking of which, this is a classic coaster. I think it originally opened in 1929. It hasn't been operating all that time, because it was rebuilt a little later, like in Six Flags America's life. But it's definitely old. I'll tell you that. Let me just say, the biggest problem here is it's not that smooth. I mean, I don't think this thing is very smooth at all. I remember coming off of this one in a bit of pain. I don't think it's the worst ride at Six Flags America, but it's kind of not that good. It's kind of climbed up since then, because I've realized, oh, it's not that bad. But then again, not that I have no memory, I don't really remember this one too much, to be honest. Don't really remember my Six Flags America visit too much. It was a GP at the time. I mean, after many restorations, they really... this one's not exactly the smoothest. Also, typical Six Flags America, running 1 train on this thing. What could have easily been done in 10 minutes ended up being a 25-minute wait. I mean, it's Six Flags America. The airtime here is good, though. I forgot to mention that. It's better in certain rows, even though I only went on this ride once. But let me just say, the airtime here is... It's good. I think this is the best wooden coaster in the park, and if they're going to RMC something, RMC Roar. Roar is probably a D or F tier wooden coaster. Or I just completely forgot the existence of E tier, because it's not a school grading system. I've gone too long. Let's move on next. And we have a big surprise at number 65. American Eagle at Six Flags Great America. This is my 3rd least favorite large-scale coaster at Great America, behind Demon and Dark Knight. This is a coaster I could talk about for hours on end, but not necessarily for the best reasons. The stats are impressive. The height's good, the length is excellent, the speed is one of the fastest at the park, and one of the faster wooden coasters around, and the manufacturer is surprising. I mean, this was made by Intamin. The problem is age. This coaster's been operating since 1981. I looked this up earlier when I was writing my script, then I realized that double space between the and late. That's going to drive us crazy. There really hasn't been that many noticeable overhauls. I mean, they might have gotten some minor refurbishment, just replacing faulty wood. I know the red side has been down for a while, but it just hasn't got any major overhauls. I mean, we can all agree that one side is probably smoother, the layout can be a bit better on one side. I mean, if I want one thing from Great America in terms of coasters, it's either remove the Demon or give this thing the GCI treatment, the Ghost Rider treatment. This thing would be a top 5 coaster in the park for sure. Don't RMC it, but the track. Touch it up with the GCI, stick some Millennium Flyers on it, and I would be a big fan, dedicated rider. I would ride this thing until my back falls apart. I mean, I don't really get that much wooden track in my life due to low tolerance and roughness of pain, and my next entry will show you exactly why. Because if you're going to say, I'll mention it later, but this one, it's age. If they give it the GCI treatment, this thing could become in the top 3 coasters in the park. It can give X-Flight a run for its money. I mean, this thing could be great. And just look at that helix. It's just mesmerizing. Just such beauty and architecture. And then the reason why I don't get much good wood track in my life is Viper. Yes, this thing plummeted from last season. If this was 2015, this thing would be in the top 50, maybe even the top 40. And I would have liked it better than some steel coasters. Just unfortunately, for some reason, it's gotten rougher in the off-season. I went back on opening day and said, this thing is not as good as it was last year. It was rougher, shakier, the transitions weren't as smooth. I don't know if I'm just noticing these things or it legitimately got worse. A lot of people say this thing's still golden, but as a home park for a Great America coaster enthusiast, I could say this thing has gone down a little bit down the toilet for 2016. This thing was a routine coaster since 2009. I mean, this thing I've been riding for years, and I stopped. This thing just got cut out of my lineup just because it just wasn't enjoyable anymore because of the smoothness. I mean, it's probably tolerable to more experienced ones to paint on wooden coaster, but just honestly, it's just, I don't know what happened to it. I mean, I really hope it regains its prime in 2017, but hey, at least I found something new this year to replace it with, Justice League. I typically, the time I would have spent on Viper, I spend now on Justice League, maybe a bit more. So, yeah. I'm kind of sad about this thing, honestly. 64 seems so low, and considering there's some controversial wooden coasters in the bottom half, or top half. Sorry about the dogs in the background. I got an energetic puppy here from a friend, from one of my mother's coworkers. She's a workout. Yeah, and moving on, number 63 is Blue Streak. Now, this thing, I'm surprised even that I thought this was better than Viper. Even I'm surprised. It's small, it's old, but it packs a punch on a good day. And I rode on a good day. It was smoother than Viper. Granted, I might have not have been sitting on a wheel, and I might have gotten a good ride. I don't know. This thing packed a punch. It was smooth-ish, smoother than other wooden coasters in this tier. It gave some good airtime. I did like the airtime a lot in this thing. There's some good floater and ejector airtime. Even though it's short, this ride's still good. I mean, back in like 2013, the last time I rode this coaster, this area was literally nothing. Nothing. I think there were a couple flats by the Good Time Theater, and they got relocated when the Good Time Theater was in danger. So, now that Valorant's in the area, this thing hopefully could be a bit spiced up, unless they just walk past it and just ignore this thing in favor of Valorant. I mean, this thing is a good coaster. I mean, I feel like it's slightly underrated. On a good day. On a good day, this is slightly underrated. I love the airtime. Toss-up on smoothness. I mean, my dad had a rough ride behind me, and it was tolerable on my road. I don't know if it's age. He might have been sitting on a wheel. I don't know what happened there. Maybe multiple factors. I just was able to handle this. Like, this was a good ride. I mean, it's not any better, because I think it just slightly has the edge, and I think the coasters above it are better. I mean, there are some wood coasters that I thoroughly enjoyed. Like, they were smooth, and they had some good forces. This one was still a bit rough and a bit tight, but this one had some good forces as well. And was fairly smooth. I know that, I will admit that I might have been riding on a good day. My 2013 visit was a bad ride at that time. I did get a bad ride. So I was just calculating averages, and it wound up here. And basically, we're going to have an expanded version on it next, which is Great American Scream Machine at Six Flags Over Georgia. This thing is Blue Streak, double the size, and just double the size, height, length, width, you have whatever it is. You basically just take two Blue Streaks and put them in an L. That's this ride. Maybe slightly less than that, but this ride's pretty good, actually. And I will admit that I gave this thing a bit of pity credit because I did end up getting like the 10th row on this coaster. It was still good in the 10th row. It was still pretty good. A lot better than Georgia. Hey! You scared me there, pup. You scared me there. This one, honestly, this thing is actually kind of good. What are you doing now? Are you choking? Does that bark choke you up? My god, I'm so sorry. Let's get back to this. This thing is Blue Streak. It's larger, wider, extended layout. It's an L-shaped layout. It has some good airtime, but it's not the best airtime I've ever had in a wooden coaster. And this thing is kind of average. Probably the best of the mid-tier coasters, and the superior woodie at Six Flags over Georgia. But it's out of all the rides there, this one's kind of more the forgettable ones. Like, I remember Daredevil died, Goliath had a moment. I feel like I even remember the Scorcher more than this. Ninja and Georgia Cyclone were painful. But this one was just kind of forgettable. Other than the clones, because, you know, I kind of expected that. All I remember is that I rode Batman in the back row and Superman's Georgia interacted with the terrain was squeaky. Oh, I don't want to spoil that. Yeah, I've been talking for far too long on this one. Let's move on to our final entry on this list, Whizzer at Six Flags Great America. Yes, I like this thing more than Eagle and Viper. The reason? I ride it regularly. Rounding out this list is the Ace Coaster Classic, the last of its kind Schwarzkopf Speed Racer, and one of the best family coasters with absolutely no theming. I remember when I was doing the In Reflection of 2015 series, it was like number 15, number 14 in that bottom. It was in the bottom 15 for sure. But it has risen significantly. Rodent? Autocorrect. I rode it again during opening day. Just better than I remembered it. I rode it again and again and again, all in my separate visits, and I eventually just grew a likeness for it. I mean, who doesn't love a good Schwarzkopf? I mean, I liked it. And it's probably one of the best ways to start or end the day. It's a good, if we walk counterclockwise, which is starting at Superman and going to there, it's a good cooldown. Or just, or that's clockwise, never mind. No, that's counterclockwise? Wait. No, counterclockwise is the way to start the day. And then clockwise, wait, no, yes? Yeah, yeah. I got confused for a second. If we walk clockwise, it's the best way to end the day. If we walk counterclockwise, it's the best way to start the day. You know, honestly, it's a good warm-up or cooldown coaster on my visit. It's the best. It's like one of the best coasters at both of those. It's a fun family coaster. It's a good way to. It's a good thrill to round out the day. It's a fun ride. It's somewhat smooth. The transitions can be a bit jerky at the bank turns. But I just love almost everything else. The classics, the Schwarzkopf, the seating arrangement even. You only have a seat belt and a toboggan. You have the in the woods aspect to go over like a little creek. It's a great coaster with scenery, and it's a fairly decent family ride. And this is one of the few times I'll actually take scenery into effect. I mean, honestly, this thing is pretty good. I like it. This is a good coaster I ride routinely. But yeah, anyway, guys, I thank you all for watching my top 100 Coaster Countdown Bonanza Part 5. We have all these entries: Gemini, Pandemoniums, Wild One, Eagle, Viper, Blue Streak, Gasm, and Whizzer. And those round out my list. Part 6 is where stuff gets really interesting. We're going to see some coasters where you do not think they should be where they are, or that are way too low or way too high. Like, you're going to start seeing interesting coasters. Because the middle tiers is where it get really interesting. I made some really odd choices. I mean, honestly, this area, this list, the next list is going to be great. It's going to be so interesting. Good topic for debate. But anyway, guys, hope you guys have enjoyed my top 100 Coaster Countdown Bonanza Part 5. I'm sorry for the stuttering. I'm sorry for the dog. I had her on my lap for the last part of the video, and just so I can get her to shut up. I'm sorry for all that. I'm sorry. I don't want to record this more than once. So I hope you guys have enjoyed, and as always, peace.